We are Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14, presented by Stakes. We are previewing every single game involving SEC football teams for Week 11. We get now to Vanderbilt's trip to Kentucky. That one kicks off at noon Eastern in the Bluegrass State. Both teams coming off different sorts of weeks. Vanderbilt, a disappointing home loss to South Carolina, a game that the Commodores, if they're going to snap that what is a now 26-game SEC losing streak, that was maybe Vanderbilt's best remaining chance. Commodores did not capitalize, lost that one by 11. Kentucky won a crazy game at Missouri where you had a 40-mile-an-hour wind. Neither team could really move the ball. Very similar styles on both sides. And now we head to Lexington with Kentucky, a chance to win another SEC game.
Yeah, I think a high chance of winning another SEC game, based on, like you said, that losing streak. When that number goes up one more each week, it's just kind of shake your head at this point how things are where they are, I guess, for Vanderbilt. But on the flip side, for Kentucky, I think just getting that win, period, at Missouri, was it pretty? No, but like just winning that game and what was a game that I think we all expected to be kind of ugly. Obviously, the win and stuff factored in too, but um I think that was just so significant, right? Because you think about how different we're talking about Kentucky right now if they've just come
Yeah.
off of a very disappointing loss at Tennessee by 38 points, then go lose at Missouri. It's just a much different conversation. But just to get that win, exhale a little bit, and now come back home with again what is a very winnable game against this Vanderbilt team that just has not been able to find a lot of answers this season. And I think this is one certainly we'll go to the matchups on each side, but I think to me this feels like a kind of that I don't know if a get right game because even again in the win at Missouri, there were certainly some things I think Kentucky felt like they could do better, but this may be kind of that get right where you come back and kind of let some frustration out here at home against a team that, like you said, has lost 20 plus in a row in the SEC play.
When Vanderbilt's got the ball, the Commodores averaging 26.7 points a game, Kentucky giving up 19.6. Rush plays, Vanderbilt's averaging 33 rush plays a game. Again, a sack counts as a pass play, 32 pass plays a game. So Vandy just about 50-50. The Commodores per rush play averaging 4.7 yards a carry. Kentucky giving up 4.4. Vanderbilt 6.2 per pass play. Kentucky giving up 5.8. The Cats have 14 sacks. Vanderbilt has only given up 10. Vandy's thrown 4 picks. Kentucky's got 6. Vanderbilt has fumbled 9 times. 9 times. And Kentucky has only recovered 4. Here's another interesting thing in this game. A.J. Swan, Vanderbilt's freshman starting quarterback, went out, I think it was late in the second quarter of the South Carolina game, got knocked to the turf. His head hit the ground really hard. He had a concussion, 3 weeks ago in Vanderbilt's last game. So that's 2 concussions in 2 games for A.J. Swan. My guess is he won't play. Vanderbilt, in that case, would go to Mike Wright, who was a 10.8 in the 100-meter guy, led them to that win at Hawaii. It was, 63-10 in the opening week, but that was a much different time for this team and just a dreadful opponent. I think Vanderbilt is probably going to have trouble moving the ball, but it will go ground heavy. Kentucky's not elite against the rush. I think you'll see a lot of Ray Davis in this one, who just ran for $160 against Carolina and caught a pass for a touchdown. I would expect that you'll see Wright behind center. Maybe the Commodores will go a little bit more run heavy than they have, with that being the case.
Yeah, I mean it's look, I think the only way Vanderbilt can win this game is just to somehow find a way to crack this defense because I think on the flip side we're going to talk about in a second, I think their ability to slow down Kentucky will be quite a challenge in my opinion. And so I mean I don't have a lot of optimism without AJ Swan in there. I mean, look, you said what Wright can do, and I mean we all know I think he's a talented player. It's just, again, there's a reason they made the switch
He
to
can't
Swan.
throw.
Well,
That's
that's to
the
say that,
problem.
there's
Yeah.
a reason they made the switch, and so it's just kind of one of those things that you understand that going in, and now you go on the road to play a team like Kentucky, who we talked about. I mean, you just mentioned the stats. I think they're, I don't know, what is it? I think they're 14th nationally in yards allowed per game, or something like that. It's they're top 15. I know last time I checked. And so this is a team that I think, like we said, that's why I think the result for Kentucky in that Tennessee game was so stunning, was because you just expect Kentucky's defense to, give them a chance in every game they play in, and that's kind of been the case for the most part this season. Even if the offense has been a little up and down at times, but now I think you look at this matchup, and like I said, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I think Vanderbilt will have to try to run the ball by default if AJ Swan's not playing, and again, that takes away, you just think, right? Like that just takes away an entire dynamic, your entire passing game. If you're just trying to run the ball on every play, I think that's much easier said than done against Kentucky, or excuse me, against Hawaii versus Kentucky. And I just don't know if that game plan is going to be one that's going to be successful against the Cats.
Before we talk about when the Wildcats have the ball, let's give a shout out to our presenting sponsor, Stakes, where you can predict sports. And if you do it better than the crowd, you got a chance to win NFTs. With Stakes, players can cement their sports predictions against friends, other fans, and influencers forever. Don't let your sports genius go overlooked. So join Stakes. That is STAKES. Have the best predictions captured in the moment. Playwithstakes.com/14. If you use the invite code Southeastern 14, you get a double welcome bonus. It's free to join, free to play. It's not a betting app, it's a predictions app. You can win stuff, you can have fun. What's not to like? Join Stakes today and help out the folks who help us the most. Okay, when Kentucky's got the ball, the Cats this year are averaging 23.6 a game. Vanderbilt giving up 36.8, including almost 500 yards to a South Carolina offense that's not very good. The Cats have thrown 9 picks. Vanderbilt has registered 4. Kentucky has lost 6 fumbles. Vanderbilt has gained 10. Rush plays, again, sacks taken out. Kentucky averaging 4.1 yards a rush. Vanderbilt giving up 5.0. The Commodores giving up 8.5 yards a pass play. Kentucky only averaging 6.7 a pass play. But Kentucky's got one thing that Vanderbilt's had trouble with, and that's receivers who can make big plays. Now, the weather could be a factor in this one. I don't know if wind is expected, but I'm looking on weather.com. It's expected to be 28 degrees for the low, 44 for the high. Ooh. Sometimes there's a wind in that place too. I'm thinking we're looking at a game where both teams probably try to run the ball a lot, but Vanderbilt's pass defense has just been so vulnerable. It seems like every week you see a couple of 60-plus yard passing touchdowns against them. And Kentucky with Berrien and Key and some of those guys can really make those plays. They haven't been as frequent as I think you'd like, but they do exist.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Will Levis hasn't thrown for 300 yards since I think the Northern Illinois game, but I don't think it's a game he's going to have to throw for 300 yards because I think that Chris Rodriguez, I mean, his numbers are what they are, right? I mean, it's just if this guy, this is that kind of game for me, is I just think that they will be able to do, mix and match, do a lot of different things offensively. And that starts with Levis and Rodriguez, of course. I think Rodriguez has put up at least 112 yards rushing in 3 of the last 4. Since he's come back, he's rushed for at least 64 in every game. So he's gonna break off some of these big plays, especially against this defense. Because like you said, it's not just that Vanderbilt gave up 38 to South Carolina. Like they gave up 31 of those in the first
Spencer
half.
Rattler.
I mean, too. It's just like the bursts you can get offensively against this Vanderbilt defense are just not ideal for the Commodores. And I think this is one where, given the ability, of a Will Levis, I know he's struggled a little bit in that Tennessee game, of course. The numbers, maybe people have been frustrated. We've talked about the sacks, those kind of things. But I mean, this is one of those games where, again, I go back to my initial phrase, like a get right game. This feels like it's it for Kentucky, especially on the offensive side, coming off a tough defensive, matchup at Missouri. Now you get the opposite of that. I think in this Vanderbilt team, you've got Rodriguez who could run for 100 here. You've got Levis who could throw for 3 or more touchdowns. You've got the playmaking ability of the guys we've talked about before on this Kentucky offense. I just think all of that sets up for a big day for this Cats offense.
Yeah, Vandy. I mean, the under is an intriguing play here for me. And we're not professional bettors. We just watch a lot of SEC football. I just don't think Vanderbilt's going to be able to score much. Kentucky doesn't score much against anybody, although this pass defense will be maybe the worst that they've seen all year. So there's that. I think the cold weather, again, factors in. Kentucky just doesn't need to do much. It just needs to be controlling the ball, not turning it over. Both teams are going to play a slower tempo. You've got a line at 17.5 and over under at 50.5. That makes for a predicted final of 34-17 in Kentucky's favor. Frankly, those are numbers that both teams could have trouble getting to.
I don't know if that's
Well,
I don't
I may
think
be
Vanderbilt.
overthinking it.
Well, no, I mean, if you had to ask me right now, does Vanderbilt get over 10 points? I would have very little confidence in that. I just don't know
Has
where the
Kentucky scored
offense.
40 all year on anyone?
Well, but if they played this, have they
Yeah.
played this defense? I think in terms of
No.
and again, I'm sure we can look back at their non-conference schedule, but this is a defense that is struggling, as we've said, in so many different ways. And in SEC competition now, I think this is one where they have, like I just mentioned, Levis and Rodriguez, like those two on their own have the capability, I think, offensively to make big plays with either their arm on the ground. I mean, look, there's other guys too, right? Like a Barry and Brown, he could break off a big return or a big play, and all those different guys, right? And I think those are the things you have to keep in mind here. So you mentioned the under, like it's hit in 8 of the 9 games Kentucky's played in this season. The over's hit in 6 of the 9 games Vanderbilt has played in this season. But I think my bigger issue with going with the over probably, and again, we're not professional bettors. We're just telling you based on what we've seen from these two teams. I just don't know that Vanderbilt scores enough points here to be able
Yeah.
to get there. Even if does Kentucky can Kentucky score 40 or more? Yes, against this Vanderbilt team, absolutely. Because I just said it. South Carolina scored 31 in the first half. So that would give you a little hesitation. I'd probably stay away from that one just because again, I'm not a bettor. You guys probably have better data than I do, but I don't love that setup. Again, the under 5-0 in Kentucky's last 5. This is from covers their last 5 games. The road team, it's worth noting, 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 between these two teams. But I'll be honest, Chris, I don't love the setup here for Vanderbilt. I think Kentucky wins this big.
Yeah, the over under based on what these teams have done should be closer to 53.5. And again, it's 50.5. The final score based on what teams have done should be closer to 30-23 in Kentucky's favor. It's 34-17. I mean, I like Kentucky to win. Vandy did after laying an absolute egg against whoever it was a few weeks ago. They've laid a lot of them. Did come back and darn near beat Missouri on a road, a team stylistically that's similar to Kentucky. Kentucky's got Georgia coming up next week, coming off a big win. Again, it's going to be cold. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't put any amount of money on it, but I kind of like Vandy to cover, not to win, and I kind of like the under, but I don't feel great about either.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, if Kentucky won this game 40-0, it wouldn't shock me.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Anytime you have a team that is on the streak that Vanderbilt's on in SEC play, there is a wide range of possibilities. I think always. Yeah. That was a good point though about the stylistic similarities with Kentucky and Missouri, but I think also not having AJ Swan, I think just completely takes out a dimension of the offense for Vanderbilt, and I think it just makes it so much more challenging. And knowing how Kentucky's going to game plan around that, I just find it hard to believe they're going to score enough to do anything. And it's not even that. I don't think they can stop anyone. So
yeah,
that's the thing. And I think Kentucky's offense is significantly better than Missouri's offense. So at its high point. So that's why I think Kentucky wins big here.
Well, and turnovers is the other thing. Teams have been able to get to Levis and sack him a lot. Vanderbilt's not a team that does that a lot. And Rodriguez has been fumble prone throughout his career. I mean, that's one thing that could keep this. Yeah, should Kentucky win this convincingly? Yes, but there are some things in here that say that might not happen. So
Yep.
Anyway, I wouldn't put a lot of confidence on anything in this game just because Kentucky has trouble scoring against anybody, but Vanderbilt has trouble stopping anybody, and it's going to be cold and God knows what else in Lexington. So, in any case, we are previewing every single SEC game for the coming season. You can get those all by subscribing to our channel. We've got basketball content coming up. There might be a Kentucky fan or two here that's interested in basketball. We have previewed your team. We'll be dropping lots of stuff as the basketball season gets underway. So again, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to check that out. We'll see you again soon at Southeastern 14, presented by Steaks.